Okay, so, are we recording again?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, so now, any questions about Snow Commander's job responsibilities? All right.
You should
So-
gotta make sure everybody got their phone numbers, because a lot of people use that as an excuse.
Yes, we will do that for sure. So now in everybody's folder, so you don't necessarily have a Snow Commander job description, but in your folders you should have a snowplow driver procedure, okay? And if you don't, I've got a few copies here, but you could also look on with your buddy. So snowplow driver procedures. Now this is your job description. This is what you guys need to do, okay? And whether you're a snowplow driver or a shovel guy, you know, it doesn't really matter, okay? So first you must speak and or text with the Snow Commander 48 hours before, like we talked about. And then, you know, be ready to go. 12 to 24 hours, you're gonna do that again. And you're going to come in and get your vehicle if that's what you're instructed to do. Most are, but some may not be, okay? You wanna make sure that you leave with everything in your truck. So my guys are doing their best, you know, Mike and whoever else, to get the trucks ready and have everything in them so you can just get in and go. But ultimately, you're the quality control for that get ready crew, okay? You wanna make sure, it's your responsibility to make sure you're not going out to shovel driveway, you know, shovel, and not have a shovel, okay? You need to ensure that you have the tools available on your truck, and those things include, you know, gas, tow straps, shovels, sand, you know, the plow list, your snow blower, extra oil, a scraper, you know, a hand towel perhaps for wiping the inside of the windshield. Sometimes it gets foggy when you're in and out with wet clothes. You know, flashlight and your folder and all this sort of thing. So it's your responsibility to make sure you have that stuff. Watch the weather. You should know what the weather is expecting to do. So pay attention to that. But you know, also get to sleep. You know, you need to sleep. Typically, we've got 1-inch customers and we've got 3-inch or 2.5-inch customers. So residential driveways are a 2.5-inch trigger depth, with the exception of maybe 10 or 15% of them. All the commercial properties are typically a 1-inch trigger depth, and maybe that 10 or 15% of driveways is a 1-inch trigger. So what that means is if there's up to 1 inch of snow, if there's 1 inch or more, we're gonna automatically come plow them, okay? If you're on the 1-inch trigger depth. If you're on the 2.5-inch trigger depth, you will be not going unless we have 2.5 inches, okay? So sometimes Mrs. Jones, who's on the 2.5-inch list, will call. Hi there.
I was just wondering if you guys were looking for plow drivers.
We are.
What Kenny's name is.
Oh, very good. Why don't you go around and talk to Bob?
Okay.
Okay? So sometimes Mrs. Jones will call in. She's not on the 2.5-inch list, but she wants to be done today. And we'll just dispatch that out and that'll get done. So some of you guys are on the 1-inch plow driver list and some of you aren't. So it depends on multiple things, on what your regular routes are, and you know, typically I try to keep my landscaper guys going on the 1-inch list and not have the, you know, plow driver only people do the 1-inch list. But so that's pretty much the skinny on that. All right, so as I mentioned, although you will get a call from us, you are responsible for getting up and getting out. So if you think it's gonna be getting started around midnight, set your alarm for like 3, so that if something catastrophic happens, your phone battery goes dead. You know, you're getting up, not when there's 6 inches of snow on the ground to get started, okay? So now we'll talk a little bit about the paperwork. Everybody's pretty well familiar with this. This is how we record our payroll sheet. Punching in and punching out doesn't work for snow because you're typically going right home. So, so you need to fill out your sheet here. You know, know, which is just same as the landscaping sheet. You're putting the day, the date, you know, plow route. So you're not writing down every driveway. You're writing down plow route 3 or whatever your route number is that you're doing. Shovel route 3, salt route 1, you know, whatever. And then if you have any equipment breakdowns, you're writing that in, you know, in here, and you're writing your start and stop time. If this is a job that, you know, if it's straddling the day line, you know, over midnight, you're going to, you know, just write, you know, today and tomorrow, okay? You know, Thursday, Friday. So just, you know, you can have more than one day on this just going across, okay? If there's 2 people on the shovel crew, put both your names on the same page, okay? If there's, you know, a plow driver with a rider shoveler, same thing, put the rider's name on the same page, okay? So, you don't have to add up your times or any of that stuff in terms of individual jobs, okay? So I think we've got that under control. So then this is a plow route. So when you look at your plow routes here, you'll have columns which will be drawn in. Haven't figured out how to do this on a computer yet. And so on these columns, you know, we will typically have first pass, second pass, third pass. So, and you want to write in the lines, okay? Excuse me, so you'll write down, you know, first pass I got here at 12:01. And then if you're doing a driveway route, you're gonna just write down the end time of each job that you do, okay? So if you get to the first job and you finish that job at, you know, whatever, 12:01, you get to the next job, you finish that at 12:18, you get to the next job, you finish that at 12:37, use the exact number, write it down, and go right on down the list. So you only need one time. And it wouldn't make a huge difference if it was the start time or the finish time, but it's gotta be, you know, one to the next so that I can see your progress right on through. If you're doing a parking lot, you need to write both the start time and the end time that you're on site to the minute, okay? Start, stop. From there, you're going to read the notes. Underneath here, there's often notes, and it might say something like, you know, be sure to shovel to the oil tank fill, you know, by the garage door. Or, you know, shovel the side door, or don't shovel this, or, you know, be sure not to, whatever, make the entrance wide enough, be sure to get the mailbox, all, you know, whatever little notes. You need to look at those notes and be familiar with them and make sure they're accommodated, okay? If they're a shovel customer, it's gonna say shovel, okay? Like this one here says shovel 1071 at Dr. Spinelli, absolutely needs to be shoveled from 6 a.m. On the ramp and front, back, side doors, path to the top of the dumpsters, in the top of the dumpsters. So every time that you shovel that, you need to put a check mark next to it. It's within the time that you're there shoveling, okay? So you don't have to necessarily write down a separate shovel time unless you're on a shovel crew and all you do is shovel. If you're just jumping out typically to do a quick shovel, you know, you just check it off that you shoveled it. If you shoveled it twice, you should have 2 checks next to it. If you don't put anything next to it, that's gonna necessitate the snow commander asking you, and then if he misses it, it's gonna necessitate Kathy asking you, and we have to go through this big long cycle of chasing you down. Hey Zach, did you shovel this customer, you know, 4 days ago? Now we're doing the billing and we need to know. And nothing was written down. So it's very time consuming and a lot of wasted time. So it's very important that the paperwork is as accurate as can possibly be. So as you go through your whole route, and when you're already, you know, you're done your first pass, or maybe you're 1 or 2 driveways ahead, you're calling the snow commander, hey Ron, or Bob or whatever, you know, I've only got 2 left, what do you want me to do? And he might say, well, let me call you back in a few minutes. And so he'll see where other people are, and he'll either dispatch you somewhere else, or he'll say, just start over and go clean them up. More often than not, you know, if we get a 6-inch snowstorm, you're called in at 2.5 inches, you know, you're plowing the first half of your route, there might be 3 or 4 inches on it, and then by the time you're getting done, the snow has stopped, maybe the last 10 houses, you can just do them once and be done with them. You don't have to go back because it's no longer snowing. So do your shoveling right then, get them done, then go back to the beginning, you know, make a note, this one is done, so you know you don't have to go back from this one beyond, right? And then go back to the first ones, now they have 2 more inches of snow still on them, go clean them up and get the shovel done and finish, okay? So that's, any questions about how that works? No, okay.
Oh,
good.
one quick, on the notes, most of the time they don't change, but every now and again they might change. So like just as part of your getting ready for that day, just thumb through it and just kind of look and make sure.
Exactly.
You might go to the same house 5 times, but the 6th time it might be different. So just kind of check, say, oh yeah, it's a little bit different. Just kind of for yourself, because every now and again they do change, and then you know they'll complain, why didn't they do so and so? You know,
Right.
so just
Now, up here, there's a spot for the truck. So the truck number should be on here. For the most part, you should have the same truck every storm. All right, if you've whatever switched trucks or something like that, you know, make sure that you've got your truck number written on here, so that when we go back to, sometimes, you know, with our GPS, customers will call and say, oh, I don't think you came, and then we can look up the paperwork, and then we can look on, do the Garmin report and say, well, you know, truck number 33 was there at 12:01 when you were tucked in bed sleeping, and we were there, you know, once, and yes, it kept snowing, but, you know, we didn't just forget about you, you know, oh, okay, you know, and they'll be more understanding and want to pay the bill, all right? So, so it's important we have our truck number, and then we put a stamp right here that has, your name and start and stops. It's not stamped on there at the moment, but so you want to fill that out, you know, much as the other yellow sheets that we use in landscaping for the individual customers. You know, fill in your name, you know, Matt S. Start at midnight and finish at 5, you know, whatever, and that'll just kind of be duplicated here, but put it all in one sheet. So so please have that filled out as well. Okay, some of you guys, oh, let's see here, just back to this checklist. So we're filling all that in, checking off shovels. There's very few times, but there's a few residential people where you actually might get out of your truck and throw a little salt down. All commercial driveways have a salt truck though, but you know, if that is written on there, you want to make sure you check off that you did that. If we're in a long storm situation, you need to check out with your snow commander about taking a break. You know, if you've been through everybody once and it's snowing like crazy, or whatever, you've been out for 10 hours, the snow commander might say, you know what, take an hour, or take a half an hour, whatever, go get something to eat, take a little break, get out of the truck, stretch, you know, be back in the truck by, whatever, 1 o'clock. You know, so don't just take your own breaks, you know, don't say, oh, I did everybody once and go home and go to bed and think it's done and over, okay? You need to make sure that you are checked in and out with the snow commander before you do that. And negotiate, you know, a time. Okay, again, if paperwork's incomplete, it can hold up your pay if we don't have payroll stuff, and also, even if we don't have, you know, all the individual jobs checked off, we're not gonna process the payroll until we have that complete. So, otherwise, it gets crazy trying to chase this stuff down. Accidents, if there are any accidents, whether you hit a mailbox, whether you bump into a car, a parked car, whether you, anything like that, you need to call it in right away. You need to call in the snow commander, and you know, if there's other people involved, I mean, that's gonna probably end up being a police report kind of a thing. So we need to know about that right away. Make a note on the list. Oh, I tore up a bunch of grass. I tore up the mailbox. I banged the garage door. Whatever you did, we need to have that written down so that we can get a list going, and we can get things fixed and repaired. You know, in the spring, we go around and do all the lawn damage. You know, if it's like snowing now and we tear up someone's lawn, and it, you know, we may go back tomorrow and fix it, you know, if it's not frozen solid, right? If it's warmed up and we can fix it and put it back and not have it be, you know,